Hey everyone, it's Josh here, and today's Friday, and I'm going to be reviewing a series of scary movies that I have assigned the nerds to watch for this week's theme. Now, growing up, I've always been into scary movies because, I don't really know why, but I just remember watching scary movies from a very young age. I mean, the first movie that I can remember was, a Jason movie, and then, Valentine, which is a thriller, I guess. And I remember Katherine Heigl was in it, and she's sitting at the table at a date, and she's writing out something in her meal, and that's just something that's always stuck with me. I know Denise Richards got drowned in a hot tub with a chainsaw, and I know it's weird to look back and think of that, you watching that as a child, but I've always loved the idea of watching. I've always loved movies in general, but I've always loved the idea of scary movies because they take you into this incredible, well-thought-out world, and I think that's fantastic. And I assigned each of the nerds, 2 or 3 movies each, and I told them to do, whatever they wanted to do, with the options. I decided to watch all of them. I had already seen 2 of them, 2 of which I own on DVD. The other 2 I rented on Amazon Instant Video. So I guess I'll just go ahead and get started. The first one was The Woman in Black, and I think Chelsea is going to review that. And The Woman in Black stars Daniel Radcliffe, and apart from Harry Potter, he hasn't been in much, not anything in this particular genre anyways. I know he did December Boys and another war movie, but The Woman in Black is a very peculiar movie because it takes you back into the 1920s, the 1930s, somewhere around in there, I can't remember exactly, and he's a real estate agent, and he is going to clean up this house and look for a deed or a will or something like that in, in that particular, he's looking for something. Something that the previous owner has to have, because they died, they have to have it for, to sell the house. So, things start happening, and Daniel Radcliffe's character, which I think his name is Arthur, starts to see weird things going on. There's just different things that go on. There's a rocking chair in the guest bedroom that shakes, and he sees her in the yard that comes up from the ground, and the bed creaks, and you see her rise up, and it's just really different. There's a lot of jump scares. I know I'm not describing it too well. Okay. It's something you have to wrap your head around because only he can see it, but he can only see her in certain times. And so, in any ghost movie, things start to happen. You have toys moving by themselves, and you just hear creaks in the floor, and lights go out, and things just start getting really creepy from the get-go. He has to leave his son to go into another part of the next city or town over, and while there, he sees the Woman in Black, and the townspeople are not happy with him because anyone that ever goes in that house sees the Woman in Black, and one of the townspeople's child dies. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. And when they find out when the townspeople find out that someone is going there, they say, "Oh no, you can't go there." And then when he first gets there, he has to stay at the hotel. The city motel or hotel, whatever you want to call it, and they hear his business in town, what he's doing there, and one of the guys says, "No, you can't stay here." And I won't spoil it, the significance to why he wouldn't let them, but it's a pretty good reason why. I mean, the movie itself is very complex, but it's also very simplistic, and it takes you back to, the earlier scary movies, the earlier ghost movies, and it's very, very, very grasping, because it's a good film, and, I don't know, I just really recommend it because it's one of those movies that you'll either love or just kind of be scared of, have a love-hate relationship with it, because it's absolutely fantastic. So, that's The Woman in Black, and, yeah. So the next movie I watched was The Skeleton Key, and I watched The Skeleton Key on Netflix. And all I can say about The Skeleton Key is that it was absolutely crazy. I mean, the plot is super intense and, once the movie builds up, you're just like, oh my god, what is happening? Okay, so basically it takes place with Kate Hudson's character. She's a nurse, and you know, you get to see a little bit of her backstory working in the hospital before she answers an ad to go out into the country of Louisiana, which usually all witchcraft movies take place in. Not all of them, but I know True Blood does, and I absolutely love True Blood. But that's on another note. So she gets out there, and you know, she meets a lawyer, Luke Marshall, played by Peter Skarsgård, and I don't think I pronounced that right. But I know Sam said he's always creepy, and that is so true, because he's just like, so yeah, so basically, you know, she, gets the job, and, you know, with a little bit of hassle from, the guy's wife, because, you know, the guy, fell in the attic, and, you know, you find a little bit more about that as the movie progresses. But, he can't talk, and, he's bound, bedbound. And as the movie progresses, you find out that the place was actually home to, you know, a rich white family who owned a bank in previous years, and the mother and father had slaves, and the slaves were named Papa Justify and Mama Cecile. And they were into hoodoo. Supposedly, like, all African American slaves were into in Louisiana at that time of period, or still today anyways. But you find out in the movie that the slaves transferred their souls into the little white children that they were to protect and, you know, feed and take care of and things like that. And during the ritual, the parents, while hosting a party, actually found them, and they killed the children. They didn't kill the children. They took the children out, and they killed the slaves. However, they killed their children because the children's souls were in the black slaves, and the slaves' souls were in the kids. And you find out that, you know, they basically killed their kids, and it spirals a little bit out of control because, you know, you find out, you have to believe it, sort of, based on the rest of the movie. And the slaves have been doing this in order to survive forever, not forever, but hypothetically until the movie. They have been transferring their souls into another person in order to live, and they take the years that they have left. Once, you know, they figure out, once you know that the girl starts to believe, Kate Hudson's character starts to believe in all this stuff, she goes and, you know, she finds protective brick dust, and, you know, she tests it and she starts to believe in it. Now, you're not really supposed to believe in it due to the fact that if you believe in it, you can get your soul can be switched from body to body. And once the movie starts building up, you learn about Justify, and you know, you meet this crazy old lady who tells you that it is real, and you know, there's a little bit of a fight between the old lady and Kate Hudson's character, and you find out that this stuff does exist. She goes for help, and Luke, who is the lawyer, is Justify. So Luke, the person that was of Luke, is actually in the old man, and Mama Cecile has to go into Caroline's body, which is Kate Hudson's character. And long story short, they get into a fight, and Kate Hudson calls for help. However, Kate Hudson's character, Caroline, isn't herself, because Mama Cecile becomes is in Caroline's body at the end, and basically the bad guys win. So yeah, that's the skeleton key. Now on to the scariest movie that I've possibly ever seen in my life. This movie gave me nightmares. This movie is absolutely terrifying, and that's The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I've actually had this on DVD for a super long time, and I've actually hesitated watching it due to the fact that I heard it set around, the story itself revolved around in a court case, and then moved on progressively on to the actual story of The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And that is true. The movie does revolve around a court case, as you see here. I don't know if my camera's gonna focus on that, but you see the picture where they are in a courtroom. Yeah, so this movie starts off, you know, Emily is already dead, obviously, and she, you know, you get a court case. That's the kind of film that this is, and it revolves around the court case, and they want to figure out what actually did happen to Emily Rose. Now, when you find out, when you hear that, like, when you hear that as, like, an everyday person talking about just, you know, a regular movie, when you hear a movie talking about a court case, you're like, are you serious? That's going to be so boring. There's quite a few, actually, like Amanda Knox, with Hayden Panettiere, that movie revolved around a court case. And, you know, it's just really, you know, it doesn't sound appealing. But the way that it balanced the two, it was just absolutely fantastic. So, Father Moore, which is the main guy who did The Exorcist, he is a priest, and he's accused of killing Emily. And the way that this movie actually does capture everything together and as a whole, it is fantastic. Moving on to the actual plot. Okay, so it shows, in bits and pieces, her stages of possession. And, you do come to find out that her possession is by the devil himself. The devil is inside of her, along with a couple other demons. And it starts off, you know, she's in her dorm, and you see it sort of take over her, or go into her, per se, if you will. And, you know, then you see, you know, these demons don't want her to get help. So, they take over her body and her mind, and whenever she goes to look at someone, the person's face just absolutely goes crazy. I mean, it looks as if the other person is being possessed, and it just scares her. You know, you see her run, and she sees people, and she looks absolutely terrified. And that is in her classroom. She just has an episode, and she goes to the church, and you see it take over her more, because, you know, that's usually how it happens. And she ends up going to the hospital, where the demon actually does end up going inside of her and taking over her body for sure. You know it's there, and she knows it's there, and it's in her for sure now. So, Emily is gone at that point. And then, you know, she goes home. She does not continue to study at college, and things start to progressively get worse. You know, the exorcism happens, and it's so terrifying. I mean, I can't even explain the movie itself, because it's so complex, and it's so different from anything that I've ever seen. I've never seen The Exorcist, because I've seen part of it. I've seen, like, the remake or something, and it absolutely scared me to death. But this is nothing. I mean, this tops The Exorcist. This is the scariest movie that I've ever seen, and the sad thing is that this is PG-13. And, you know, I guess this movie's really underrated, because I've never heard a lot about it. But, I really recommend this movie if you love scary movies, because this one is absolutely terrifying. And if you look here, it says, based on a true story. Well, if the movie itself didn't freak you out, that will. So, that's The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Okay, so now on to the last movie. Now on to the last movie, which I have on DVD as well, and that's The Last Exorcism. The Last Exorcism doesn't have anybody that stands out in mind cast-wise, but the movie itself is pretty creepy, and the plot is very different. Nothing's been done like it before. So, having said that, you meet this preacher who pastors a church, and he vows to pick a letter out of the few that he has, and he will perform his last exorcism, hence the title. With that being said, you know, he opens the letter, and he predicts what the letter is going to say, and he says that, oh, I predict that the letter will say, my livestock is dead, and they say my livestock is dead. So it's pretty funny, and sort of makes fun of the cliches in these type of movies, and I like that. It has a lot of references to jokes and things like that, because the point of it is that he's being followed by a camera crew, and when he gets to where he's going in Louisiana, it does become a problem. But you meet the son first, and the son starts throwing rocks at the car, telling him to go away, because you do find out that, you know, he's at the right house, and he doesn't want his sister being performed on. And, you know, you do find out that she is possessed with something, and I will tell you what she's possessed with later. But, you find out that, with his camera crew, they find out that something is in her, but they don't really know what is in her. And so as the story progresses, you know, they start investigating with the pastor, and they find out that the pastor threw a party, and with that being said, supposedly she hooked up with a guy, but the guy that they go to talk to is gay, and so they get a bit confused. So they go to the house at the end of the movie, and they find out that the pastor actually seduced the girl, and so they slept together, and what she's possessed with is actually a demonic baby. And when the baby does come out, it's not due for it. It's like she's 5 months pregnant, and because she's not even showing in the movie, and when they show the demonic baby, the baby is breathing and crying and doing stuff that demonic babies do, and it's actually pretty intense. And nothing is really shown in the movie, like the sexual content. There is sexual references, however, and it's just crazy. The movie does leave you on the edge of your seat. You're wondering, how could this happen? It's pretty intense. You know, the whole church is in it. They're like a cult kind of thing, and they're trying to get rid of this demonic baby, and they see the camera crew and they kill them, and it's just crazy. But overall, the movie's pretty good. It's very suspenseful, and it keeps you on edge, so I would recommend it. It's not as scary as Emily Rose. Emily Rose is probably the scariest movie I've ever seen, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it there because I'm probably rambling on too much. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys next week, and tune in for Braxton tomorrow and Chelsea Sunday. I'm really looking forward to their reviews, so I'll catch you later.